Okay, so perfect. So all of you can see my screen and we'll start. So actually, I have collated a set of skills that on talking to a lot of people from the industry, especially individuals and you know technology leaders. I've come up with these skills, and these skills are considered to be quite essential if you are to grow as a technology leader, as an architect, as somebody who's in charge of transforming your enterprise or business. So this is like a set of crystallized information that is people have found a lot of value from across many years of experience, industry backgrounds, and typically across various domains. So we will actually see what are the kind of skills that are required to help you go digital and become a digital leader. So that is the key word there. And in between, if you have got any queries, you can actually ping me on the chat window. I'll keep looking at it as and when I can. And so typically about myself, I actually come with 2 decades plus of industry experience, having worked in large and small companies. And the last couple of years, I've been consulting, training on architecture, enterprise architecture, solution architecture, business architecture, product management. And I'm an empaneled enterprise architecture expert with the Government of India. I was the ex-vice chair for the TOGAF Standing Committee. I'm part of the governing board member for the CCI Cloud Council. And I'm also part of the intersection group, which helps companies to design their business models. So that's about myself in brief. And I've actually worked across multiple industries. And of late, I've been consulting with companies of all sizes and shapes across geographies, and involving all kinds of domain architectures and value chains, etc. So typically, what we're going to be covering today are the essential skills that will help you set out as a digital leader, as a technology leader, as you make the journey forward. Because most often people have a cumulative set of skills, but they've not been able to get the exposure that is required to help them grow as a leader across the spectrum of use cases, business scenarios, customer experiences, and all that. So here is some condensed information, all of that trying to be pushed into on a 1-hour slot. And I hope I will be able to do some justice to what we actually have on the table here. Typically, so I think my screen has changed, but are you guys able to see the screen that has changed, or you're still seeing my screen, which is, you should be seeing skills emerging and in demand for the digital workforce. Yeah, are you seeing that? Yes or no? Okay, because my screen is way different from what is being seen here. So let me do a new share and reshare it again. So let me see if this actually pops up in the go live stuff. Okay, I think there is a delay between the go to meeting. Okay, I think now you see the screen. So I think this is a problem that I need to sync my screens with what is there on the screen. So yes, actually, I have the skills that are there are typically, so I don't know why this guy is taking a bit of time to show it across. Okay, so it should ideally, okay, every time I share something, there seems to be a delay. So let me reshare that again, so that I know that I'm talking to the same screen that all of you guys are able to see. Oh my God, there is some kind of a delay. I've changed the screen and still the screen doesn't change. Anybody has any clues as to what could be the problem here? Okay, let me just unmute. Yeah, I think not able to. Okay, I think I see the screen here now. Okay, great. So typically, the skills that are quite in practice and are very much there as of now are typically coding is not going to go away anytime, although there is low code and no code and all that. So coding, programming are quite in demand. AI, ML skills, cloud, DevOps, Web 3.0 skills, augmented reality, metaverse, IoT, Internet of Things, automation skills, social media skills, yeah, and product dev, service management, articulation, and abstraction as a skill, critical thinking, lateral thinking, and of course, finally, how you're going to be a human, like, in the age of machines, to show empathy, to be of value to people, able to emote emotionally with people. All of that is obviously going to be quite useful, and it's not going to go away anywhere too soon. And I mean, that's what sets us apart from machines, of course. And so the next part is I've changed my screen. So I think it has a bit of a delay or something before it comes on to you. What are the kind of skills that set you apart as a leader? So typically these things that set you apart as a leader, it'd be, okay, one second. Let me just share this again. Okay, so the skills that set you apart as a leader would be typically, digital transformation skills, agile with architecture skills, and enterprise sales skills, your ability to make presentations, ability to understand the entire architecture landscape end to end, be it a product or a solution. And then, of course, how do you mix security with that? And then, of course, DevOps and IT skills. And then, of course, lean, agile, and design thinking as a skill. Then your ability to evaluate architectures and use the right architecture as and when you would need it, that sort of stuff. So you will need those details. Then your ability to create reference architecture helps you quite a bit. Then you should be able to look at the business IT connection. How do you use business with IT together, and so on, and able to mix those things. Then finally, of course, keep an eye on the emerging tech, because tech stacks are changing every couple of months. So you need to be aware of, okay, what is the new shiny object out there, and how much it impacts our work, how much of it is required by customers, and so on. So I think that is what you will have to do. So I don't see the screen here having been changed. So I think people on the call here, so I'm not sure why this is so. You could, typically the screen is not, it's changed for me, but on the live stream, can you just type what you see on the screen as the main heading? Vijay, can you just type yourself, please? What do you see on the screen? Because for me, it says what skills will set you apart as a leader, but on the live stream, it says tech and non-tech skills in demand. So anybody on the call, please ping what is the title that you see on the screen. Hello? Can somebody type what skills you're seeing? Mehdi, yourself, can you just type what title are you seeing on your screen? Dinesh, anybody on the call? Hello. Okay. Can somebody say that? Are you able to see the screen, and what is the screen title, please? Hello. Hello, people on the call. So can you just say what are you seeing on the screen? Hello. For me, the screen is frozen. So okay, I've sent a Zoom invite on the chat window. So it looks like we are having a lot of issues with the screen getting frozen. So you might join the screen Zoom invite, and then we will get on the call over Zoom. I hope it's okay to people, because I think that's what we'll need to do now. So, okay, I'm admitting Vijay. Hello, Vijay. Hello, Vijay.
Yeah, hi, Vijay here. You able to hear me?
Yeah, yes, Vijay. Hi.
Yeah.
Am I audible?
Yeah.
You got the screen is completely frozen, right?
No, it was moving. Whatever you were telling, we were able to see. I'm not sure.
Oh, is it?
You mentioned about that why not slide, right? And we were able to see that why not slide.
Okay, were you able to see the, okay, let me just share what something, okay, can you tell me what you're seeing on the live screen now? Not on Zoom, what are you seeing on live screen, live video?
Now I'm saying this what skills will set you apart as a leader?
Oh, you're seeing that, is it?
Yeah.
Okay, so shall I then go back to the live itself in that case?
Yeah, you can try that.
Yeah, because there are around 11 people there or something.
8 people are there, and I see that.
Okay, there are now 6 people. So I think it is an issue right now. Okay, let me have, okay, I think I'm streaming as well as people on, okay, so I think it's okay because people are there who can watch it live, plus people are there on Zoom also. So I think that's good. I think, Vijay, you can stay on Zoom
Yeah.
so that, and I'm on both of you. So yeah, I think let me then, you just tell me if whatever screen I'm facing and showing is all okay or not, so that I have some validation. Okay, so I think that should be okay. We will start off with what are the kind of skills that set you apart as a leader. So typically, we had some issues with regard to the screen being frozen and my screen wasn't being refreshed at the same time. So we'll start off. It is typically your digital transformation skills, agile with architecture skills. So you're supposed to know how to use enterprise architecture along with Scrum or Safe Agile or Scaled Agile or less and all those kind of frameworks which are there. Then your ability to sell stuff, make RFCs, RFPs, that counts a lot. Then your ability to showcase yourself as a thought leader, obviously that is quite useful. And how you make presentations, how do you write white papers, how do you establish credibility as a leader, all of that is very much required. And of course, the end-to-end understanding of an enterprise with all of its aspects, the architecture and with cybersecurity thrown in from day one these days. So that's also one of the things that you will need to, be careful about. And of course, DevOps and IT, lean and agile and design thinking, how to use them in what proportion, and then how do you evaluate your architectures, how do you create reference architectures for your company, and then okay, what do you actually mean by service management, and how do you look at service management in the context of DevOps and the IT landscape as such, and business architecture and emerging tech, of course. So these are the things that you will need to keep on. And so the other part is how do you ensure that, what does going digital mean for a lot of people? So it actually means a whole lot of things. We go to companies, we have a lot of boards which say that, we are going digital, we are a digital enterprise, and, all of that sort of stuff. But what exactly does it mean? So it is actually, there is a lot of,
Yeah. Hi, Kiran. Sorry to interrupt.
yeah,
Hello.
yeah.
Yeah.
Please.
So that going digital, what does it mean? Is showing on Zoom, but not on the LinkedIn part. Okay. Just wanted to highlight.
Okay. Yeah, that is the problem I was telling you. So anyway, I'm going to record this on Zoom and probably share it on LinkedIn also for
Yeah.
the people who didn't. So I think that's good, Vijay. Thank you. So I will, so to whatever extent it takes its time to refresh on the LinkedIn Live, that's okay. Otherwise, I think with whatever we have right now, we will do it. I'll record this session, and then people who missed it actually can actually watch it offline also, because I'll be sharing the recording. So going digital has a lot of connotations these days in terms of what does it really mean going digital. It means customer centricity. It's about understanding the customer's context and devising stuff. It's about a connected experience. It's about moving from digitization to creating a digital experience, which is encompassing a superior and better user experience. It's like a seamless world out there and so on. So basically, there are a lot of connotations of going digital. We will explore that a lot when we touch upon that topic. But for now, it is taken a form that it is about serving the customer, understanding his context. So let us say if you're going in a climate controlled, in a cold country, when you're traveling, let us say you're in a cold country, and then you've switched on your AC in the car, and that shows 18 degrees. And then when you come home, it should be at the same temperature automatically. You don't have to, again, you don't need to adjust here. So basically, it's about creating a connected, seamless experience across multiple devices, multiple products and solutions. Everybody who's thinking in these lines is actually going digital in one way or the other. Because if you're not able to give a superior customer experience, they're just going to walk away from the solution and go to somebody else who's going to do that for you. So as we know, Facebook was not the first social media app. There was Friendster, there was MySpace, there was a whole lot of these other guys out there, but Facebook just made the experience better, and then people just migrated to that thing. So typically there is a lot of these digital transformation skills that are there typically when you are trying to build an enterprise from one stage to another. So typically you could actually have at the there are multiple ways that you build the digital tower of skills. So it starts from, okay, if you're a founder of a startup, a 2-man, 3-man company, probably a 10-man company at some point of time, and then you actually scale up to a team, and then to a team of teams, and then to an enduring enterprise. So when you are a founder, obviously your ability to create the product or a solution is the key fundamental skill that you need to have across digital infrastructures, using cloud, using DevOps, using application delivery. All these things really count. And when you go to a team of teams, your ability to manage the work across a team, get your product fundamentals right, get your operations management right, that is quite essential. And then when you go to a team of teams, you would actually be required to understand how do you do the investment management better, the organization culture better, how do you coordinate your process. And when you actually go to the next level of that is like we have a formal place for enterprise architecture, governance, risk, compliance, and security, end-to-end concerns. All of these things become quite visible when you are an enduring enterprise, wherein you need to create a set of processes, institutionalize them, and that should run with or without the team. So if you're able to go to that level of detail, then that is typically what is there as the digital transformation skills. So for people on the LinkedIn Live, I've actually put a Zoom chat window also, so you can join using chat because the LinkedIn refresh rate between the go live and the Zoom, I don't think so. It is just streaming quite well. So you might have to switch on to the Zoom call. So I think I've just put the invite. So if you're feeling you can have a better experience, then please jump onto Zoom, wherein a few people have already joined. And so typically the next part is, as a leader, you need to understand business architecture. So, but basically, what is the bread and butter of what we do? People here actually, how many of you here actually know what is a business architecture? So since I've the luxury of having some people on Zoom, let me just ask them. Yes, Vijay, please go ahead. What do you think is business architecture according to you?
Yeah, so from a typical enterprise architecture, we have 3 layers, right? One is the business processes and the outcomes that actually are expected out of the business. Then is the information, the technology, and the data. So the first starts with the business architecture, where we know what is the company about, the processes, the setup, how is it going to make the top line or bottom line out of the business. So we'll have to understand what are the processes in place, how is the whole business engaging with the stakeholders, and how is it going to be used. So what is the requirement for the business to run, or what are the processes, and how do we actually make ultimately the revenue out of the business.
Okay, yeah, perfect. So basically, business architecture is about a lot of those things. So it is about understanding how the business is making money for you, how is it leveraging various processes, various operating and business models, how is it actually generating the cash, and what is the motivation, alignment. So there's a whole body of knowledge now under this fact that business architecture. So it is, in a few words, it is summarized by what Ravi Venkatesan said. It's about banking is not about banking is important, not banks. So that kind of summarizes your business architecture, because people are looking at very different ways of how to offer banking to its customers. You got valet banking, you got cryptos, you got digital currencies, you got wallet-based banking. So you got a whole lot of things. You don't need to go to an ATM to do banking. You could pretty much do all of that from the comfort of your app these days. So you don't need to, have an IT spend hugely in terms of having an office, paying the rent and the salaries for the AC, the furniture, and whole lot of people, the tellers and the managers and so on. So basically, there's a lot of work that is being done by fintech companies to ensure. So all of that kind of a knowledge that you kind of build for your own business in your domains would fall under the bucket of business architecture. So the body of knowledge is so deep now that you have a 3-day, 4-day course on just teaching people what is business architecture all about and how you can actually use it in your day-to-day stuff. So as Vijay just said, it's about connecting end user channels with the business processes, with various roles that people actually have, and what are the apps and the data and the end user products that are there, there, and then how do you make sense of it all? So that is typically what is a business architecture for you. So how do you connect all of these dots across these various layers and products and solutions, and how do you ensure that you are able to build a business architecture? So that is typically what is the case here, and you should be able to build the capability based model for your architecture, typically in terms of, okay, what is the current business capability, business landscape, and how do you kind of break it down to various kinds of capabilities and sub capabilities that you are able to visualize for your business. And then how do you turn the business around and saying, okay, these capabilities are green, these are red, these are in progress capabilities, and then how do you kind of connect all of these things as level 1, 2, 3 capabilities, which can actually be broken down from the top down. And then, of course, how do you map all of these to value streams? So basically, value streams are end-to-end activities that are there when you are able to go from strategy to execution. And these days, value streams are across the board. So they go from multiple different products and solutions. And then how do you kind of map a value stream to the business capabilities? And this is a very vital skill actually when you're doing business transformation. So it helps you to ensure that all of you are able to, as business leaders, you are able to get a firm grip on your offerings and saying, okay, these capabilities need work, these capabilities are work in progress, and that sort of stuff. So you should be able to create this sort of a mapping. And then, okay, what do the customer care? He really doesn't care, okay, what is how much capability you have in a certain area. So he would probably say, okay, as a customer, all your capability analysis that you have done, so how is it going to help me to contain and stage manage all the...
Hi, Kiran, Vijay here. Sorry for interrupting. There
Yeah.
is a lag in the slide transition. So I request you to slow down because even in Zoom, right, the
Oh, okay.
rate of refresh is slightly slower.
Oh, okay. So I think, are you able to see the capability management slide that I've shown?
Yeah.
Okay, please, thank you. So just stop by me and tell me when I'm not able, when talking about some slide, and if it's not appearing, please do let me know. So the customer says that, okay, how do you try the capability to the initiatives in the company? How do you create the touch points in with respect to the app, servers, data, and business processes? How do you map it to various value stage items which are important for your business? How do you map it to your organization capability mapping, saying who are my vendors, partners, and ecosystems? How do you showcase cost benefit analysis based on your capability details? And then how do you use capability to manage your information itself and create a data-centric organization? So these are the things that will help you when you dive into the business architecture body of knowledge. And as a business leader, you're supposed to have a grip on all of these aspects when you are the custodian or the decision maker for the business. So I'm going to the next slide here. So this shows a heat mapping that is there. So how do you say that this capability is green for us, this is red for us, this is yellow for us, and this is amber. So that sort of stuff. And then we will actually, I'm going to the next part here, which is the slide which should read your ability to tweak the operating and the business models. So are you able to see the screen?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Actually, there are a lot of things that have changed in the last couple of years, which have making it important for people to know how does my business work, how does my operating model work. So that when I've worked with a lot of people across organizations, so people have told me, okay, their job was to come up with a new operating model that will help you showcase more revenue, more ROI, more profit, and more bottom line, for their business. So typically, the operating model itself is changing in terms of the organization model. So we were all used to a very hierarchical organization. Then we came to a flat organization. Now it is more like a metrics organization. And then finally, we actually have a networked organization wherein we have a swarm of people who are working across geographies, and teams are created on the fly and dismantled on the fly as and when required. Like if you see Tesla, they form teams on a per day basis. Like this is the problem for today. Okay, this car component design requires an industrial engineer. This guy, it requires somebody with fabrication skills. It requires somebody from the upholstery skills. It requires a mechanic. So, okay, there's a small team being formed. So that is the work of the future, wherein, you'll not have teams that are just created for 6 months, 1 year, or it will be just on need basis. You can create and distribute teams. So that is how the organization model is changing. So you need to understand how to actually create such teams so that you are able to manage the various process landscape in your companies. So that is one key skill that is becoming very important. The other one is the architecture model itself in companies is going from a monolithic architecture to a layered, n-tiered architecture. And we've seen it go to a service-oriented architecture over the period of years. And then we actually now have microservices as one of the ways in which you can actually do it. So it is all becoming very need basis, on demand, and you could manage the whole architecture, create modular architectures on the fly, which will help you. Each has its own merits and demerits, so you can actually use them to create better architectures. The other one is, of course, the various process landscapes. So when I talk to multiple companies, work with them, so they are in between a lot of levels of maturity. Some are agile, some are hybrid, some are iterative, some use only Kanban, some still use waterfall for a couple of their projects. So basically, and then of course you have DevOps being thrown in. So how do you ensure that you're able to create the right operating model for your company, and that sets you apart as a leader? So basically, you should be able to create a process that works for you, and you should be able to create that level of detail, and so on. So the next part is the operating and release model. So typically, you would actually have the releases which are done yearly, quarterly, monthly, and then these days you've got Netflix, which does thousands of releases within the same day. You are using advanced DevOps and site reliability engineering practices. So you should be able to create operating and release models which work at that level of scale. So this is one skill that you need to understand. Then, of course, the other part is the operating practice model itself. Like you have a business process model within a single organization with some help from external vendors. Now the business process model uses multiple partners and vendors in the landscape. And then the other one is using value stream based network, saying that, okay, this is my value stream. And across these value streams, there could be n number of partners and vendors involved. So we will ensure that all of these guys are unifying the processes and they're able to work across the landscape using multiple diverse set of technology stacks and vendor stacks. So that is typically what it is coming to. And on-prem is being replaced with cloud, with adequate amount of virtualization being thrown in. It was initially single cloud, now multi-cloud, multi-vendor cloud. Now, of course, with cloud, with containers to gain on the last buck as well, to how to optimize that. So containers are going to be one step more advanced than the virtualization that was there. So those skills are also quite in demand when it comes to ensuring that you are able to progress on the architecture. Then you are also looking at how do you kind of use multiple vendors to source your stuff. So it was initially a single vendor. Now it's a network scope of multi-vendor model. And now it is, anybody is a vendor out there who can actually serve, if we can service you using APIs and the API economy, which is a key thing, which is coming out as a predominant factor because of microservices and all the other supporting frameworks and stacks. So if you are able to do that, then that sets you apart, definitely. Then the IT supporting model changes would be, okay, initially there was L1, L2, L3, L4 kind of support. Then that became better with regard to having a knowledge base. And then the knowledge base was supported using partner ecosystem, which is supported by a service desk and so on. So any questions? Okay, because I heard some glitch. Okay, and then these days you have actually an artificial intelligent chatbot enabled self-healing systems, which are requiring less and less of manual intervention. So it has gone through all of these changes. So your ability to understand these things and play the adequate role as a decision maker, as a leader, sets you apart in the digital world when these things have changed. And the other part is, of course, your ability to slice and dice your architecture and help you to take from the strategic part all the way down. How do you go by mixing architecture with agile skills? So how do you slice and dice your architecture? Typically, how do you go from epics to stories? How do you mix agility with enterprise architecture? It's quite common these days to see people who are mixing agile with enterprise architecture frameworks or agile with architecture details, and then agile with Kanban. So people are mixing. How do you mix the fast going world with the slow moving parts? And how do you create that right set of balance so that you are able to deliver continuous minimum viable architectures to the clients and so on? So basically that becomes quite an important one. And it sets you apart in terms of understanding. So these skills are quite useful, because when I consult with some companies, people tell me, okay, how do we kind of, I think our team is not doing agile well. We are not reusing it. We don't have kind of predictability in architecture. So basically the ability for leader to set direction for the team, ability to break down the items into user stories and epics. So all of that actually makes a lot of difference. Then, of course, you should be able to break down your epics or product backlog increments into themes and epics and features and user stories and tasks. So there is an art and science of how you do this quite well. So if you are able to do this, then you are definitely a leader who is in demand. Then how do you mix the architecture world with the agile world in terms of, okay, well, this is my rollout items for week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4 across these architecture layers. And then, how do you kind of ensure that we are able to transform our business, and what is the kind of readiness that we need to do? So most often when you're taking about transformation exercise, you need to understand, okay, what is my level of readiness? Is it a go, no go? What is preventing me from doing it? And so on. And then your ability to craft and come up with architecture roadmaps and timelines and saying, okay, this is what we will do. in the week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4. So this actually is quite an important skill because your ability to not just visualize an idea, take an idea to execution and make sure that you are able to create the architecture roadway all the way down to the execution parts. And the other part is the security skills itself these days need coupled with architecture. So you need to have an end-to-end understanding from concept to cash. How do you take an idea all the way from an idea stage to profit? So how do you ensure that you're able to do this across the architecture landscape? And right from having a vision, creating architectures across business data, application technology, creating a reference architecture for them, and not just creating the architecture, but also to ensure that it is templatized and so that there is reuse in the architecture and you're not reinventing the wheel, so to say. So you should be able to do all of those sort of stuff. And you should be able to, ensure that you're covering cybersecurity in all of these things, because security is a day one skill. It's not that something that you need to do at the end. You're supposed to cover cybersecurity at the right in the beginning. And then the most important part is like, how do you go from strategy to execution in various layers, like, in your line of business, across various business domains, business teams. How do you do this? Sets you apart. So basically, what do you create in the strategic architecture? What do you create in the segment architecture? What do you create in the capability architecture? So this is quite useful because you need to work at various levels of abstraction as a leader. So you need to be knowing the solution. You need to be able to look at the segment, and then you should be able to go to strategic level and then say, okay, at my highest level, this is what we are doing. We break down into multiple segments, and then we further go deep down into the capability architectures and, do that work quite well. And so we should be able to, create basically the vision and mission for the company, the guiding North Star for the company. And we should be able to, create a set of vision, mission, which the team can be aligned to. Okay, saying that, okay, this is what the business team needs to do. And then we need to use IT and technology to leverage these activities down the layer. And so typically, how do you set your goals, your drivers, and your constraints to ensure that you're able to create a uniform mapping across your requirements? And then how do you ensure that you're setting a set of KPIs and value propositions to ensure that you're focused on business outcomes and not just business value? So typically that is quite an important thing to understand, that you are focusing not just on the business output, but you're focusing on business outcomes. So, and how do you measure them using KPIs and matrices? So all of these things actually make a lot of difference. And then as a leader, you're also required to abstract information and present it in a way in which it is easily understood by the layer above you. So you're respected to the extent that you can abstract the information and present it. So if you can abstract information well and present it to people, stakeholders, customers, internal, external, you're respected for that amount of detail. Most often people know the things quite well, but your articulation skills, your presentation skills sets you apart, when it comes to growing as a digital leader, as a technology leader. So typically, if you look at, there is a problem within the company, there is a stack trace, there's a null pointer exception. And if you talk to a developer, okay, he'll say that, okay, what is the kind of problem? So he might say, okay, there is a null trace exception. This is what I'm getting. Line number so-and-so, code number so-and-so is throwing this error. But if you talk to a module lead, he'll say, okay, there is a message interface issue between these two components, and we are trying to debug and fix that. So that is the kind of abstraction this guy comes with, And next off is, if you look at the tech leader or somebody at the VP director levels and enterprise architect, solution architect levels, they could present the information saying that, okay, our payment gateway is actually having some issues. As soon as you swipe a card and make a payment and buy something, the loyalty points are now being credited. So imagine it's the same set of information, but people are communicating it across various levels of abstraction. So people respect you for the amount of abstraction that you can bring while you're interacting with people, while you're designing solutions, that sort of stuff. So it's quite an important skill. So this is another skill along with articulation and doing presentations well. So the other point is, how do you sell something, but how much of skills you use in creating RFPs, RFCs, how well do you know your digital product or solution sets you apart. So typically, like, you should be aware of end-to-end service sales cycles in your companies. You should have taken part in RFCs, and proposals and deals. Basically, how do you kind of respond to those requirements, and how do you kind of ensure that you are creating it correctly and responding to all the changes that are there within the things, and how do you ensure that you are able to articulate the value proposition of your solutions well. So that is another thing. And then how do you kind of use consultative selling as a strategy? So this is also quite an important thing. It's not just about responding to RFCs. So how do you use consultative selling as a strategy in your sales cycles? So that is also quite important, which a lot of companies are focusing on. That is how to have the approach of having a transformation partner in your business. So it is not just I will help you to scale, but how will I act as a transformation partner in your journey and take it forward. So then the trusted partner thing, and then of course the soft skills for sales, and that sort of, all those things actually is quite useful as well. And then understanding how the service lifecycle helps, like you could be a technology guy, but you're talking to the business teams, the delivery teams, the sales teams, the customer teams. And then how much of it do you need to understand? So these skills are very important. How do you understand the entire sales cycle within your companies, right from research phase to taking it all the way to go live and product approval? And then what are the different ways in which you are acquiring your customers these days? So those also kind of plays a big role when understanding the service cycles. And the next part is an important one, which is about bringing out the Steve Jobs in you. How can you ensure that you make presentations that people fall in love with? They really love the way you're presenting, and it is focused on things like they're able to appreciate what is that you're offering right away, without too much of huge amount of going into detail. So like they say, if you have to present like Steve Jobs, so he was able to demo right on stage and show a lot of things to people. And then if you're able to present your solutions like him, using his kind of details, keeping information minimal and brief, then you actually win a lot of people in the whole bargain. And then you need to ensure that your ability to showcase your skills are quite important. You are writing white papers, you're sharing information on LinkedIn, and you are able to present to an audience. You are able to create some white papers, thought leadership in your industry. And these days companies actually have a lot of weightage for, okay, how active is this guy on social media, how many blogs has he done, how many tech talks has he done, how many places has he spoken in conferences. So those kind of things are definitely going to give you a lot of weight, and you should be able to get in a lot of visibility for the work that you do, and you should be able to ensure your authority and establish, and of course forge new connections, make friends with people, multiple different industries, all of that sort of stuff. So that is quite a useful skill for you to have. And then of course the DevSecOps and everything in between. So dev and ops is quite important, but you have DevSec and ops, which are quite important all across the life cycle: plan, build, operate, and doing all of that sort of stuff. So you can use DevOps as a means to fight shadow IT within your company. Shadow IT is like, people are going outside of your IT teams to ensure that, since business is very slow, let me go and pay some outsourcing partner or vendor who will do my job, because my current IT team is 24/7 occupied with firefighting. So if you have DevOps, you can actually have multi-speed IT. You can have it can be a solution to bimodal IT, as Gartner calls it. So you can use that to tackle all of that detail. And then you can use innovation as a key to tackle and create innovative growth engines within your company. As a business leader, as an agile technology leader, so it will help you to climb the ladder faster if you are able to create innovation engines within your company. And then, of course, the fundamental question is, how do you mix these things called lean, agile, and design thinking? So design thinking helps you to explore the problem that you have, and it acts like a guiding compass for what you need to do. And lean helps you to say, okay, am I climbing the right wall? Am I doing the things right things? Are we trying to solve the right problem, which has business viability, which has economic viability, which is technically feasible? So lean helps you to fail fast, fail forward, fail cheap. So within a very cost-effective manner, you should be able to crack. Okay, what is the winning logic for coming up with the winning solution? And then finally, after you've done that, you should go to the agile stuff, which is going to help you to create a working model for your architecture. So that is how you should be doing. And people, what happens is these short circuit these two things, and they straight away jump to the agile stuff for reasons because of market pressure, because of customer pressures, and so on. And they miss out on the first two things. And sometimes you've wasted a year or two just building the wrong thing. So all of these things will definitely set you apart as a digital leader, that you need to understand how it is being done. And the holy trinity of course, tech, design, and engineering is becoming very, very useful these days. So design thinking is being used by a lot of companies in all of their work, be it creating
Hey, Kiran, I'm not able to hear you. There's a static. Hello.
Am I audible now?
Yeah, it's better now.
Yeah, I think I just lost out on my 1 second. Let me just connect that. So I think there was an issue. Am I audible, guys?
Yeah.
Okay, 1 second. So
Yes, can hear you.
okay, fine. I think let me sit back. Okay, is it better now?
Yeah, better. We can go ahead.
Okay, fine. So I just changed my device. So typically, you should be able to make intelligent decisions from the set of ideas that are given to you, and then you should be able to narrow down your ideas, and then you should be able to use design thinking to say, okay, these are the kind of silos within the company. These are the fixed thinking. Each team is thinking in very different ways. How do you kind of unify all of this approach? So you can use design thinking to so it creates solutions with empathy, which is solving user needs, which is an outcome-based approach, and is a collaborative approach. So that is what you can use using design thinking. And so typically it is used all across the board these days, from semiconductors to rocket ships to creating driverless cars and so on. So it is quite an important skill. A lot of companies are sending their tech engineers, technology folks to understand how to infuse design into their everyday business. And then the next off is typically, how are you able to evaluate your architecture strengths? So this is also quite important in terms of understanding, how do we evaluate architecture strengths? Which is the right architecture to choose? And how do you go from a strategic part to developing a set of architecture principles and keeping an eye on the cost viability factor? Then how do you ensure that you are looking into all the architecture principles one after the other, and then creating a business outcome for your customer? So this is typically becoming quite important. It was always important, but how do you do this using a set of best practices, using the strategic goals, and then translate them into architecture goals and mapping them to business outcomes? So keeping an idea on the cost is becoming very important. Then your ability to evaluate the architectures in terms of their strengths, weaknesses, and so on. Like, when do you use monolithic architectures? How much of reuse, maintainability, how easy is it for you to test that architecture? How portable is it? How available it is? How can you divide and conquer your architecture? So your ability to appreciate your architecture styles becomes very, very important across the layers. And you should be able to know which architecture to use for solving which particular problem. And then you should be able to say that, okay, I should know when to use a microservices architecture, when to use service-oriented architecture, when should I use microkernel, monolithic architectures, pipe and filter. So basically each messaging architectures, event-based architectures, for instance, serverless architectures, container architectures, all of these things will be quite useful when you are actually requiring to solve a particular problem in a domain, and you should know when to use. So this is also another skill that is definitely useful for a business leader and a technology leader. And the next part is, of course, not to reinvent the wheel. So you should be able to create a reference architecture that is going to, prevent you from reinventing the wheel, which is saying, okay, this is this is my set of components that I'm responsible for. These are so on one sheet of paper, you should be able to see your entire architecture. This is a very simplistic one so that, you get the point, but you can actually have very detailed reference architectures which go on into multiple slides and so on. But the point is, you should be able to understand and track and create that required amount of traceability in your architecture, saying, okay, what are you doing in each of these blocks? How are they actually being mapped to one another? And what is actually being done across the various layers? So that is something. And the other point is service management and IT. So basically, you're adding a feature, raising a ticket, fixing a bug, and then opening a ticket. So this entire cycle of developer fixes the code, goes to the operation guys, they raise a ticket, fix a ticket, see whether it has worked for them, yes or no, what is the uptime, downtimes, the SLAs, and all of that sort of stuff actually ensures that you're able to create the right kind of a service management model for your company. And then there is actually this service management database which needs to talk to all the artifacts within your company. So you're supposed to create a kind of traceability across your cloud, network, DevOps, artifacts, and say that, okay, this is where we are connecting this stuff. This is the problem. This becomes an incident. And then this is an incident, this is a problem, this is the change management for that. These are regulatory requirements for that. And then how do you create that kind of end-to-end traceability? So this becomes quite important. So you just should not be aware of only the development side of stuff, but also the operational aspects of it. Once they go to the client landscape, how do things really work there? And how do you position that in the landscape of enterprise companies? And finally, how do you stay relevant in all of these skills? So it is like changing the wheels of a car when it is moving, because already you've done some amount of microservices, and from SOA you come to that layer, and then suddenly people say, okay, now we are going to containerless, serverless architectures, which requires you to require and learn a few other things, learn about Kubernetes, learn about Docker skills, and those sort of stuff. So basically, while you're doing something is already changing in the layer. So how do you kind of keep track of those changes? So it could be technology changes, it could be business domain changes. So basically, idea is you focus on your area of interest, whatever appeals to you. If it is banking, is it fintech, is it blockchain, is it cybersecurity, is it CRM, is it Salesforce? So whatever it is your interest of liking, just pick an area there and say, okay, I will follow some thought leaders in that space. I will look at various groups, meetups there in each city, wherein once or twice a month people come and talk about your topics of interest. So 50 to 100 people typically join there, and you can actually get sometimes they give you coffee and a pizza free. So I'm not saying just that, but you will get to interact with a lot of people over there, and you can actually rub shoulders with them. They'll help you establish industry contacts, and they help you to create a lot of visibility for you in the ecosystem. And follow your thought leaders on LinkedIn, on YouTube. Follow their white papers, their books, and their videos, and then watch your people whom you follow watch their videos on YouTube, and every day try to learn something new and try to implement the things that you have actually learned. So, set aside half an hour or 1 hour each day before you call it a day to learn something new, because this is the digital age and all of us need to be adding to our existing knowledge bases, because the technology is changing quite fast. So just if you do every day half an hour or 1 hour, so incrementally at the end of the year, you become a huge, reservoir of knowledge, which is done effortlessly. Like, it's not that it's all acquired in a one day. You just spend some amount of time every single day and, you do that sort of stuff. That will set you apart as a leader. Then, of course, why did I talk about all these skills? I've talked to various technology leaders. I've talked to various individuals and who found that, okay, they're stuck in the same job role for the longest time and they're not able to make some changes. Then they found these skills were quite useful because I've picked these skills across companies, business leaders, development heads, organization heads, product management heads, head of engineering. All of these guys have contributed to the skills that I told you. And also the skills, also people who said that, okay, we lack these kind of skills and this is what we want to learn. And typically that is going to help you get unstuck in a job. And if you're not able to make the shift from either internally within the company or externally, all of this could definitely be useful to grow laterally or within or outside of your organization. And most often people don't have good bosses or don't have good mentors to help you guide on this journey. And so if you are lucky, you will get a boss who's interested in you and so on. But otherwise, you don't get people who actually have time for mentoring. And at times they're just worried about, okay, what is the deliverable that this guy has to give? And they're just chasing deliverables and timelines and so on. So it becomes very difficult for you to get those kind of help and details. And so that apart, typically I've actually acted as a mentor for a lot of people. And I have actually formulated a course called the Agile Business Leaders course, which has all of these kind of skills with around 60 plus hours of learning that is packed into that. Plus, I also coach and train people and mentor them on their queries that they have with a case study that is running and with sample exercises that will be shared across the domains. And how do you kind of do and describe your architecture details? How do you present it to people? How do you articulate it to your various stakeholders and so on? And then typically you could use all of these things and review your solutions over a call. And then you get a mentor who's not just helping you, have all these skills, but also mentoring you with, how do you kind of scale these ladder with all of these kind of skills. And typically that is something I've come across and been doing and helping a lot of people with acquiring these kind of skills. So I have kind of come up with this Agile business leader skills. So I thought, let me make a presentation on them so that if it's going to benefit some of your colleagues or something, it would definitely be worth the effort, because already a couple of people are and companies have shown interest in this, and they have mentoring on with them. And I'm actually being looked at as a mentor for those teams and those individuals. So if you are interested, you can drop me a mail or you can just ping me on WhatsApp, and we can get connected on that. So I think this is about what I had to present today. Any queries at this point of time, folks? I hope all of this was useful, what we talked about.
Yeah, Kiran, extremely useful. Thanks for the presentation. And also, I like the way you spaced the presentation, covered everything.
Yeah.
One thing actually I have the feedback is there is a lot of impetus on sustainability nowadays. If you are able to bring in the sustainability aspect in the overall scheme of things, I think it will be more beneficial for all the stakeholders.
Sure,
So
sure. When you say sustainability, like you mean go green and that kind of sustainability in the cloud?
Yes, yes. So sustainability nowadays, right, is coming with a lot of aspects. So it can be the governance, risk management, financial performance, health and safety, supply chain, environment management, biodiversity. So we'll have to look at the end-to-end, how actually we are able to not only the greenhouse gas, but how we are able to make the whole industry more self-sufficient without having to rely more on the natural resources, which actually are polluting and depleting. So that's where I'm coming from.
Correct, correct. Actually, that brings me to a point when I'm working with the Indian government, there is something called sustainability goals and initiatives, wherein when we are designing solutions, they want the solutions to be customer-centric and to ensure that you are go green, it is effective, it is customer-centric, it is serving the needs of the customer, it is leveling the economic disparity across the teams and that sort of stuff. So yes, when you're working and of course, these days corporates are also urged to think very deeply in sustainability. That's a good point. I've seen most of that in the government sector, private. Yes, there is a push for it if you are funded by World Bank projects and so on. But yes, companies are forced to think sustainable and go green, cloud data centers, all of that sort of stuff. A good point, Vijay. I'll try to include that as well. Sure.
Yeah, so I'm more, that is one area of interest, and I can work with you for interested and
Sure,
see
sure.
how actually we can collaborate. Thanks for that.
Definitely, because there is a lot of work happening already in multiple government bodies on that, which I'm part of. So I know what's actually being talked about there. Thank you very much. So I think there was a huge confusion in terms of the LinkedIn Live. I'm not. Is the live screens, was that moving? Aman, Mehdi. Okay, you guys have any doubts, Aman and Mehdi?
Thank you, Kiran. It was a good presentation. I enjoyed it.
Sure.
You gave us a good guide. I wanted to know more about this subject. Thank you so much.
Surely. So I think thanks for that. And if you find any of your colleagues needing this sort of a detail or something, then you can pass my coordinates to them, and I'm always available to help you in your journeys.
Hey, hi, Kiran. This is really very informative.
Thanks, Aman. Yeah.
Right.
So which company are you working, Aman?
Right now, I'm working for Apar Technology.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Apar.
Yeah, Apar Technology, yes.
Oh, okay. And Mehdi, yourself?
I'm from Iran. I work in a steel company in Iran. I'm a ICT manager. Yes.
Oh, okay. Nice to know that.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think there was a big problem with the go live on LinkedIn. So there were some 69 people who registered, 12 of them joined. And so do you still have people on the LinkedIn call, Vijay? I mean, how's that?
Yeah, I saw 6 people. I don't know whether still there.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I think anyway, all of this is recorded. So I'll put it there. Yeah, 6 people are there.
At the first, there's 11 people.
Yeah, there was 11 or 12 people, correct. So there was 11 or 12 people. So people on the LinkedIn Live, if you got any doubts or any queries, please ping them on the chat window. I will try to answer them because you offline answer them also. So that should be about it. So I think next time so what is the suggestion? Should I send out a Zoom invite on LinkedIn? Is that better? What do you guys feel? Because I think Zoom is better, no, than LinkedIn Live.
Yeah.
Vijay, what do you feel?
Zoom is better.
Zoom is better.
Yeah,
okay.
Zoom is better. Yeah.
Sure. I think next time I will send out a Zoom invite on the post that I will do so that people can do it, because LinkedIn has a lot of glitches. First is Zoom has to synchronize with your settings, and then it has to live stream. So unless you've got a very high speed gateway with no glitches, only then I think the experience is good on a LinkedIn live call. But otherwise, it's not very great or something, I suppose, because people don't. So anyway, thank you very, very much, all of you. So I think, Vijay, you work for IBM, right?
No, I work for Capgemini.
Capgemini, okay, because I think I saw your title as IBM or something like that. Okay. Maybe
I'm an author for IBM Red Book.
Okay. Fine.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you for sharing information. Thank you for sharing information.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Stay in touch. I hope you guys are connected to me on LinkedIn, and we'll stay in touch.
Sure. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.